And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry.
Bill Maher has made it clear he's not holding back when it comes to calling out what he sees as over-the-top woke opinions. His latest focus, Whoopi Goldberg. To be fair, Whoopi kind of set herself up for this. She's had a string of awkward and controversial moments since 2022, and Maher didn't just comment. He went all in. His response wasn't just criticism. It was a sharp, step-by-step takedown that left Whoopi scrambling to respond. So what exactly did she say that set him off this time? And how did Maher's response shake up the usual supporters of woke culture? We've got the full story for you, and trust me, it's a wild one.
We have got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi Goldberg is back in the headlines, and it's not for the best reasons. This time, she's pushing back hard, but the reality she's facing isn't going her way. If you saw our last video, you'll remember how Bill Maher went after Sunny Hostin for twisting his words. Well, it seems Sunny didn't want to face that criticism alone. So now, Whoopi's stepping in, ready to take Maher on herself. And let's just say, she didn't come quietly. She showed up ready for a fight, like she was walking into a showdown nobody asked for.
And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
This is classic Whoopi Goldberg, flipping through every page of the Woke Playbook the moment things get uncomfortable. When her argument starts to fall apart, she pulls out a distraction and goes on the offensive. Bill Maher was making a simple point. Many black Americans want good jobs, a strong economy, and fair policing. That's it, nothing controversial. But Whoopi's response? She started talking about backing a former prosecutor and helping working families, which honestly had nothing to do with what Maher said. It didn't connect. It didn't make sense. It was like she was guessing, hoping something would land. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and Bill Maher made sure to call her out on it, loud and clear.
Tear down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Maher didn't mince words. He said flat out that Whoopi's logic just doesn't add up. And honestly, that's not surprising if you've seen The View lately. The show has become a chaotic mess, like a political talk show in freefall. People tune in because it's so messy, it's hard to look away. Sure, it's always had loud, controversial takes, but Whoopi and Sunny Hostin have taken things to a whole new level with some truly out there opinions. Remember when Charlamagne Tha God showed up as a guest? You could practically see the confusion on his face, like he was wondering if he'd walked into the wrong studio.
All of the criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right.
Let's break it down. President Joe Biden has often said that no one is above the law, but now he's facing heat after issuing a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden, who was recently found guilty of corruption and related charges. Not exactly a shining example of equal justice, right? Critics are calling out the clear contradiction. How can you talk about fairness and accountability when your own son walks away without consequences? The public saw Hunter's actions as pretty obvious, yet instead of facing the outcome, he got a clean pass. That's where Charlamagne Tha God jumped in. His point was simple. If you're going to preach that the law applies to everyone, then you need to live by that. Seems fair enough. But of course, Whoopi Goldberg had her own spin on it.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
And just like that, Whoopi delivered another head-scratching moment. This time, she actually claimed that President Biden wasn't lying when he said no one is above the law. Yes, really. Never mind the mountain of clips and quotes showing him saying exactly that. Her defense, basically brushing off the obverse. It was one of those moments that made viewers wonder if she's even watching the same news as the rest of us.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
Watching Whoopi try to defend something so obviously untrue was like listening to someone argue that the sky isn't blue while standing outside on a clear day. Her reasoning was all over the place. Honestly, if mental gymnastics were a sport, she'd be in the running, though she'd probably trip over her own logic halfway through. You could see Charlemagne Tha God's reaction in real time. His face said it all. But Whoopi didn't stop. She went even further, suggesting that maybe President Biden changed his position because he was tired of always being outdone. That left Charlemagne totally stunned. He didn't even know how to respond.
So I'm just gonna follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
They're
the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to do that.
Here's the real problem. This so-called woke crowd is quick to call out bad behavior, but only when it comes from outside their circle. When one of their own is in the spotlight, the outrage suddenly disappears. Instead, we get excuses, downplaying, or just silence. And that's exactly what happened with Whoopi and her co-hosts. They managed to dodge any real pushback on the show, at least while Charlemagne was there. But once Bill Maher caught wind of it, he didn't hold back. He came in with one of his sharpest, most direct takedowns in a while. And this time, it hit the mark.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bull.
Bill Maher summed it up perfectly. The so-called woke crowd loves to present themselves as champions of truth and justice, but their double standards are now too obvious to ignore. Take the case of Hunter Biden. He was found guilty, plain and simple. But because his dad is the president, he walks away without facing real consequences. If it was someone else, they'd be called out and punished immediately. But when it's one of their own, suddenly, the outrage disappears, and it's all swept under the rug. Maher didn't let that slide. He called it out for what it is, pure hypocrisy. And he's right. This isn't just about Hunter. It's about a broken system that protects the powerful while holding everyone else to a different standard. Maher's comments hit a nerve because they exposed something a lot of people are already feeling, that fairness in this system is just an illusion. And what makes it worse? He pointed out that the mainstream media often plays a role in protecting that illusion.
Was it appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
When the Hunter Biden scandal broke, most major news outlets jumped into damage control mode. Instead of digging deeper, they downplayed the story, dismissed it as Russian disinformation, and tried to shield President Biden, all while casting doubt on Trump's re-election. It wasn't subtle. Voices that questioned the narrative were pushed aside or ignored. And on The View, Whoopi Goldberg followed suit, brushing off the story like it didn't matter. But Maher wasn't about to let that slide. He called her out directly, not just for defending the Bidens, but for ignoring the facts. He went point by point, challenging her excuses and exposing the clear double standard for everyone to see.
Above any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life, and when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Bill Maher didn't hold back, and he was right on the money. The hosts of The View, especially Whoopi Goldberg, aren't just pushing a woke agenda. They shut down anyone who doesn't agree with their point of view. It's less about real conversation and more about control, mocking, dismissing, and ridiculing any voice that challenges their narrative. Whoopi has a habit of waving off different opinions like they are not even worth considering. But Maher didn't let that intimidate him. He called them out directly, pointing out that their so-called activism often looks more like bullying. That's why he's become such a problem for them. He keeps exposing the double standards and performative outrage for what it really is. His blunt honesty feels refreshing in a space that's often full of recycled talking points and one-sided takes.
Run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office. But they do. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey.
Maher also made another important point. The woke crowd needs to stop panicking every time Trump gains traction. The reality is, he didn't steal the last election, and he didn't cheat his way to victory. He won because a huge number of Americans connected with his message, whether people like it or not. Instead of constantly blaming Russia, racism, or whatever the latest trend is on social media, maybe it's time to accept that sometimes democracy means your side loses. That's not corruption. That's how the system is supposed to work. If progressives want a better shot in 2028 or beyond, they'll need to stop playing the victim and start building a strategy that actually wins over voters.
Said there's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common.
Bill Maher nailed it again. Not everyone who voted for Trump did it because they were diehard fans or wearing red hats at rallies. A lot of people simply felt let down by the Democrats, tired of being talked down to and fed up with the woke crowd acting like common sense was some kind of crime. These voters weren't cheering Trump's tweets or his spray tan. They voted for him because, to them, the other option felt like sitting through a never-ending lecture. If the left wants to win people back, they need to stop chasing every extreme idea that comes along and start focusing on what actually matters to everyday Americans.
Saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
It was classic Maher, sharp, funny, and brutally honest. He didn't just clap back at Whoopi Goldberg. He tore down her whole argument while barely breaking a sweat. Whoopi, who often seems to speak as the unofficial spokesperson for the woke movement, made the mistake of going after Maher just for thinking differently. Big mistake. Maher pointed out the irony. The View claims to be a show about diverse opinions, yet one of its co-hosts is outraged when someone disagrees with her. That's not tolerance, that's just control. Maher wasn't having it. He exposed exactly what's wrong with these echo chambers, where critical thinking is replaced by groupthink, and any different opinion is treated like betrayal. Watching him break it all down wasn't just satisfying. It was like watching someone expertly take apart a broken machine and show you every piece that doesn't work anymore.